Hello, and welcome back to the SolidCAM mill turn training videos. In the previous video, we put the fixture onto the main and to the sub spindle, and now we are ready to start applying toolpaths to the part at the feature level. I think what we'll do is first we'll get started by let's look at the part a little bit. We want to face the front of the stock off. I want to rough and finish turn the OD of the part. And then we'll start around doing some milling operations, milling different features, whether it's drilling, milling pockets on the OD, on the face, or on different angles. So let's get in, let's focus on the facing operation. So from the setup selection here, I'm going to go to my turning tab at the top, and then I'm going to go in and pick the type of operation that I want to use for this particular job. So let's start with facing. What you're going to see here is our standard workflow window: geometry, tools, levels, technology, and link. It's going to be the same type of presentation regardless of what type of operation that you're doing. It's as the operations become more complex, you're going to see more options or things that you can set here. So when we built our setup and we started our project, you remember in the previous video where it built the cross section of the stock and it built the cross section of the part. So when I'm selecting the geometry on a machine, I can either interact with the wireframe or I can interact with the solid. There really is no right or wrong here. It's down to a preference. Occasionally on parts you may have to use wireframe or solid depending on the scenario, but in this case here I can use either or. I'm going to elect to use solid. When I go in and select and click in the geometry and I say new, it will show me a cross section of the chuck that we built, the cross-section of the stock in green, and the cross-section of the profile of the part in yellow. Because we're facing, it wants to know a start and an end point on a face of a surface. Now you can pick different faces here on this part, but I'm going to pick this surface one time to start it, and I'm going to pick that exact same surface again the second time to finish it. So the same face on both picks there, and it built this little red arrow here, and this little red arrow is showing me that it is on the correct face, but it's just going in the wrong direction. So what I can do is flip this around and say I want to flip it to the outside and machine it from the outside towards the center. Once I have the geometry selected in and I accept this, the geometry that I picked on this face does not really encompass the entirety of the stock itself. So from the geometry selection, you have this modified geometry selection here. When I select this, that by default, it's going to auto-extend this from where it stopped to carry this off to where we represented the stock in creating our initial CAM project. So I like that pick. It's going to carry it off and start its facing operation at the extents of the stock. And I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to auto extend it to the 0 point or down to the center of it, because again, the face I selected does not encompass the entirety of the stock that I want to machine. So I'm manipulating it and saying, look, even though it's not there, I want you to treat it as if it were there. Once we have our geometry defined, I'm going to come in and select a tool for facing. So I'm going to go to my toolkit, and in this example for this facing operation, I want to grab tool 11 for this facing style tool. If we look at the insert itself, it's a CNMG 120408 insert. From here, I'm going to select which program point that I wanted to use, because again, it could be facing the main spindle or the sub spindle. So this has to do with this orientation there. Which program point are we dealing with? In this case, it is the A selection. Once I have the tool selected that I want to use for the facing operation, I really have nothing here to change in levels. If I wanted to adjust my safety distances, I could change that here. In this case here in the technology tab or the technology selection, this is where you're going to kind of set the contents of what this toolpath is doing. Am I roughing? Am I finishing? So again, the parameters that you have set, am I cutting in one direction only, or can I go up and down the face? In this case, I just want to cut down the face of the part. I want to rough, and I want to finish with the same tool, and whether or not you want to use cutter compensation or not. Once I have my parameter set for the main portion of the toolpath, I'll hit save and calculate, and it will give me a toolpath that faces and addresses the entirety of the face that I selected. Now from within this window here, I can go into verification or simulation. When I select simulation, we have many different ways of viewing a part. A lot of times turning mode is the best simulation selection when doing two-axis or simple turning types of operations. It's a very 2D look to it, but what it does allow you to see is a little bit more clarity than if I were to go into, let's say, Solid Verify. Solid Verify will take the part and the fixture into the simulation environment, and I'll slow this down just a little bit and hit play, and I can run it and see the simulation in a solid verification mode. Alternatively, again, if I wanted to, I could go into machine simulation. Machine simulation will bring the toolpath into the kinematic environment of the actual machine itself. And if I have a preference of watching it simulate a solid or with machine simulation, I can see the machine moving kinematically the way that it needs to move to do this operation. Thank you for watching this short video on putting a face toolpath on it. Come to the next one. We'll put the OD toolpath on the part itself, and then we'll start attacking some of the milling operations. Thanks for watching.